Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy. Do you want to improve the intake on your BMW G20 3 Series? I'll show you how. All right, let's talk through this project a little bit and the reasons why you may want to do this yourself. Now, we're going to be installing a front mount intake today. Now, what is that? That's actually an intake that sits directly behind your kidney grills. So where your intake box is in your engine bay, which potentially can pick up additional heat, it has some questionable airflow back into your airbox. This is a great way to put your intake all the way up to the front of the car. You get all that maximum airflow, and it's the coldest air you can get because it's isolated away from your engine bay. Now, this install itself is not all that hard. I'm going to walk you through all the steps of what you need to do to get it done, but let's start under the hood. All right, so here's the existing airbox here on the passenger side of the car, and the ducting comes through here through the front of the car. This is where the new intake is going to go all the way back behind your kidney grills. One of the very first things you want to do is take your existing airbox out. So go ahead and loosen this worm drive right here with usually a flat screwdriver or usually an 8mm socket to get that done. You want to unplug the mass airflow sensor, depress the little white clip, pull back, and then that will pull off. And then with this loose, you can just take the box and just work it up off its grommets down below and separate it away just like that. All right, so with the airbox out, let's walk through kind of what this all looks like. So this is what it's going to look like behind your grill here as the pipe comes around and sets with the air filter, and the air filter is going to sit basically right in the middle between your two kidney grills on both sides. Let's set this aside for a second. So what this is going to do is wrap around and come down through here, and will connect to your stock turbo inlet here. Now, as you can tell, because you can see the silver collars, I've got 3 silver collars that all go into the pipes, because that's what gives the pipe rigidity for the hose clamps on both ends. So I've just inserted them for now, so you can see this pipe is going to go in here. You can also tell we're going to transfer the air filter, the mass airflow filter here, and get that all done. But the first thing we have to do is, if you look down here, right here, there's an intake box, or the intake tube that we've got to take out. We're also going to take off the front trim here by pulling these front plastic rivets here, 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 and here. You can take the rubber gasket and just pull it up a little bit just to get that loose on either end, and it'll come with the centerpiece. So that way we can see down into the nose where we're going to place all these pieces. Okay, so go ahead and get this front piece off next. All right, so next up you take out the 3 T30s, 1, 2, 3, that allows you to slip your kidney grills back. Now there's little tabs here that go straight into the support bar here. So you just kind of wiggle this back, and then this whole thing will come back. And this is just enough to give us enough gap that we can get the filter down here, we can get our hands and tools down in here to get this through. Next up is going to take that intake tube out. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, so the intake tube is actually really easy to get out, but this piece is what's holding it in from this side. So you can take this and tell this one took a rock hit. So reach in, kind of wiggle this collar loose, and then you'll see the end of the tube right here. You can see my hand there as well. Now with that not holding it in place anymore, you can grab it from this side and just slowly work it out of the car. All right, so the OEM tube is out. As you can see, it just takes a little bit of extra work to get that out and clear with this flared end on it, but it should come out just fine. All right, so we're gonna start working the long tube back in next. All right, so with the OEM pipe out here, we have the new one. You can see one side is just a little bit longer. That's gonna be here on the front side. So basically we have to work this around this corner like this into this position. Now, one thing I'm going to recommend, and I've seen this done a couple of different ways. So gapping this back, you should be able to see right here where my hand is. This is the shrouding that went around the OEM pipe right here. You can see it's soft rubber on this side, it's soft rubber on this side. The new pipe is larger diameter than this opening. Now, I've seen people successfully squeeze it through here. I've also seen people cut basically this back edge off right here and the top edge off right here, the top edge right here, and the top edge right here, basically to widen this space. The rest of the piece, which runs all the way underneath and is shrouding and runs all the way across the top, can stay. But if you take out this little bit of this narrow opening, you widen this opening, and it gets in much easier. So if you do want to take it a piece at a time, you could always just take off the back edge, which is going to give you a significantly more wider amount of space to fit the pipe through. If you have to, then you could then take off this front edge as well, to give you this complete opening, okay? So you basically just need to come at this. I'm going to take at least the back edge off as I come around. Now, I have also seen, just as if you're really struggling, you can always take out your hood latch here as well to be able to get your hand down on the inside. But you are going to have to take out a number of bolts. The probably T30s here and here, T25 here, T25 here, here, and here, to take this hood latch out and drop it out completely to be able to get your hand down in there. We're not going to do that unless we can if we can avoid it. We want to make this install as easy as possible. Now, in addition, you can tell I've taken the metal collars out to give myself some flexibility on the pipe as I work it around this bend. Okay, so I'm going to widen this opening and then we're going to work the pipe in. All right, so you can see the pipe is into place. So what I did was, with this end up, I kind of fit it down at an angle and started to get it around the corner. It wants to basically rub on every piece of plastic and every piece of metal in there possible. So of all things, once I got it in partially, I was only about a third of the way in, I touched the edges of the metal and the plastic down where the pipe touches with a little bit of WD-40. Then, this pipe is big enough, and again, keep in mind it's stuck up at this angle, I jammed my hand in it to give me enough leverage to press on the pipe and start to work it around that corner. The WD-40 made all the difference in the world as it just slipped right around the corner without a problem. The other end is here, fit in really, really well. You can see where it tucks down, starts to tuck down behind the strut bar right there. So, all in all, the pipe's in. Now we're going to work on the piece from the turbo inlet and then also get our filter in place. All right, so now we're going to start to want to put these collars in. Now what you can do is you can put the collar here, these metal collars, into the OEM intake on this side, and I've tightened down the worm drive. It is in as far as it will go, right? It'll only go so far. So I flushed that completely and then tightened down the intake so I don't have, or tightened down the worm drive so I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. In addition, you can now see down here, I've inserted the collar as well. Now, in this case, I want it to be in equally on both sides. So I basically just flushed it in there. I got my fingers into the pipe and felt about halfway so that the collar's in about halfway. I got the worm drive on by just picking the pipe up a little bit and getting the worm drive around it, and then tightened it down really snugly. Now, your intake pipe is not under a lot of pressure. It's basically under ambient pressure, but at the same time, you don't want to slip one of these, which would be a hassle. So go ahead and get this one on, go ahead and get this on, and then after that, we're going to transfer our mass airflow sensor. All right, normally your mass airflow sensor only goes in one way, but I always check orientation when I transfer it to something new. These are T20s. These are OEM T20 screws. So take both of those out. We're not going to reuse them. These are 2.5 millimeter Allen bolts that go into this metal piece. Okay, so go ahead and pull this, transfer it in the correct orientation here into the pipe, and then we're going to get the pipe installed next. All right, so one additional thing I wanted to add. If you have a little bit of a fitment problem, so what I found was these square corners of the sensor here didn't want to fit the round edges on the inside of that mount very well. So I very, very carefully took off the corners here, 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 and here, because what you want it to do is you want this to sit down flush with this gasket in place, because if it sits off, you're going to be pulling air in through this seal, which is not good. So I very carefully took off those four corners, just nothing more than that, and now this fits just fine. So go ahead and put this in place. It only goes in one orientation because of the screw holes, and then make sure it sits down flush. All right, one quick look here before we move to the air filter. Lower clamp is tight, all those are in really nicely. Make sure that they're snug up really, really well. Make sure that this is snug and all your clamps are tight. Then go ahead and transition. We're gonna get the front filter on and we're almost done. All right, now that you've got the pipe worked around, and you know, this is a step you could have potentially done earlier. So at this point, getting the filter in, I'm actually going to recommend taking this front strut bar out. There's two 13 millimeter bolts here at the top, and there's a 13 millimeter underneath this rubber flap right here, and another one on this side right here. Then the whole thing comes out really easily. That also could make getting this pipe in a little bit easier, but I found it didn't make that much difference in the beginning. But getting the filter in easily, making sure you got your hose clamps on nice and straight, it's gonna make it a lot easier to get it in. So go ahead and get this metal sleeve in, go ahead and get that collar in, get that hose clamp down nice and tight so it's nice and even, and then we're gonna get the filter on next. The filter will easily just slide into this place, slide it on. I'll probably have the hose clamp on top in the same position here, and then tighten it down, and then we'll put the crash bar back in. All right, so with the filter in, as you can see, looks really, really good, and it's centered right in the middle, so the collar's not getting squished by the bar, which is really, really nice. Make sure it's centered right in the middle. So go ahead and put those 13mm bolts back in, one on each end, two back in the middle, and go ahead and put the center piece back on, fit it back down into place. But first, you're going to have to go ahead and snap these back in, push them back into place, put those T30s back in, here, here, and here, and then we can put the center plastic back on, and we're almost done. I'll show you what that looks like. All right, one last look before we close up. Looks really, really good. All of our clamps are tight. All of our hoses are in place really, really nicely. Our mass airflow sensor is in, and with the lockdown, all of our plastics are back in place. And the rest, you actually can't see when the vents are closed. But it looks really, really good. I like it. Good job. Go ahead and clean up, put your tools away. All right, all done. As you can tell, this really isn't a hard project. It only takes a few simple tools. And remember, everything you'll need will be listed in the video description below. So make sure to check that out, including a link for the product for this front mount intake for a G20 from MAD, or Masters of Design. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please make sure to click like and subscribe and make a genuine difference to my channel, and I would truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next video.